the olive off there, so now I've got a clean tail that we can put our new, not an olive on, but we're actually swapping this, but just wanted to demo it how it works. So then if we undo that, see, it's just pulled that olive off. What's up guys, happy Sunday. Thanks for tuning in to my latest video, the life of a jobbing plumber. This, oh sorry, I forgot I was wearing it. I did a 7-mile road race this morning, my last race before the marathon next weekend. When you get a medal, it's customary to wear it for the rest of the day. I don't make the rules. So what I wanted to tell you was, this week's video, I've edited it, it's about an hour long, so I've split it into two because no one wants to sit and watch me for an hour. So it's a two-parter. The first part is this one, and there's going to be a second part. So I'm doing this extra little bit in the van because I actually did an intro for the video of me in the van, which you're going to see after this. Sorry. So that's that. It's a two-part video. This is the first part. Now, just a quick mention of my sponsors before we get on with it. Velocity Pro Gear tool bags. Link to their site is in the description of this video. And also Tool Monster. If you don't know Tool Monster, they sell Nipex, they sell Weira, they sell Milwaukee, they sell Velocity tool bags, clothing, all kinds of good stuff. It's a great site. Link to their site, obviously, in the description with a discount code. Use B Plumber, you'll get 10% off or something along those lines. Check them out. Hope you enjoy this week's video. Thanks very much. And the next time I speak to you, I'll have done the Rome Marathon. Fingers crossed, touch wood. Hopefully. Yeah, my van's still beeping while I drive it. I think it's been 6 months now. I deserve a medal. It takes about half an hour of driving for the beeping to stop. Now today I'm driving about an hour away from home to Newark to meet Marcus on a job. And what I thought was I'd try and get back to my roots with these YouTube videos, so just do more of me talking in the van while I'm driving to the job, let you know what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, just take it back to how I started when I first started out on YouTube. So today we're doing, I think we're swapping about 14 rad valves upstairs and down, TLVs on, and we're converting the system from a standard 2-channel programmer, room stat on the wall, hardwired room stat, S-plan, to a Valent controlled integral program on the boiler via the VR66 wiring center. So I'm going to be installing that. So there'll be a little bit of content on the rad valve swap because I know you know how to swap rad valves, and then the majority of this job will be on the VR66, why we're fitting that, how to wire it up, etc. So it should be an interesting video. Sorry, I had a bit of a camera issue there. So I like working like this because when you're self-employed, you have to get the work. So go out and quote, order materials, book the job in with a customer, wait for the materials to come, then you've got to do the work, invoice the customer, pay the merchants, whichever merchants you got the stuff off. Maybe you rang around and got prices, stuff from different places. And all that stuff. But when you're working for another firm like Marcus, all he does is rings me up and says, Pete, can you give me a day here, 2 days there, 3 days there, and I book myself in for that day, and all I've got to do now is drive to the job and then work and just be a plumber for the day and just graft. It's almost like being an apprentice again. I'm not got to think about anything. He's sorted out the customer, the materials, everything like that. I'm just going to go and be a plumber for the day, and I love it. And then all I've got to do at the end of the day is send Marcus an invoice for my time. So I'm really enjoying the simplicity of working like this. Obviously it's not all the time because Marcus has got to get a job that warrants 2 people, but yeah, I'm really liking it at the minute. And then while we're working today, I've got a guy actually coming to look at the beep on this van. So he's apparently he used to work for Mercedes, and now he's self-employed, but he He's a whiz with electrics, so Marcus reckons he'll be able to sort this out. So yeah, that's what's happening today. Hopefully some good content for you, and then hopefully my van gets fixed. Well, it's not very often this happens. I've got to the job before Marcus. Look at that. Beautiful. So, it is as I feared. Radiator valves. How many have we got to do?
12 rad valves, and then a wiring pack, valent wiring pack to link to the boiler.
But it's not just 12 rad valves, is it? It's
12.
10 mil rad valves. Yeah. Well, half the bottom downstairs is 10 mil, so we've got one here to do, although this one's a chrome one. The rest of them are all 10 mil. Are we just doing a TRV on one side?
Yeah. This one wants to get that into.
And then so all the upstairs rads are 15, which is easier. Check out this tree. It's absolutely massive. Apparently it's got its own heritage order on it, so you can't chop it down. So yeah, as well as the rad valves, we're fitting a valent wiring centre, VR66 and an RF control. So basically what we're going to do, we've got a little wiring centre there, S-plan, so two ports. We're going to fit our VR66 wiring centre somewhere in here, which will pick up that. We'll add a thermistor, so run a sensor into the cylinder somewhere. I'll just took this off. It will sense the temperature of that. That will plug into the VR66. That will need live neutral nerve to power it, but then also a bus cable back down to the boiler. So the boiler will control all of this via a bus, but we'll get into that when we get into it. So first things first, we're having a cup of tea. That's draining down. These are all 15mm TRV packs, and then Marcus has brought in his box of reducing sets, which is going to basically be that, which we'll show you when we start fitting them. So TRV number 1 coming off. Got my plumb tub around the pipe, although we have drained down, so there shouldn't be any water in it, but that'll just protect if there is.
Valves out.
You up?
I'm going to stick the valves outwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How come?
It's better for efficiency, aren't they? More accurate. Supposed to be.
Okay, so we're going to be taking these tails out and replacing them. But if we weren't and we just wanted to swap this, say someone had chewed this up, it's really difficult to get this off if you can't just pull it off with your grips. You can't get in there to cut that olive. So like with a traditional olive splitter, you can't actually get to the olive. So I've been dying to use this on a job. This is the olive puller from Monument. Now the way this works, I'm just gonna show you. So you see that fits in there like that. And then probably be better to use without the drill on actually. So that fits in there like that. And we tighten this bit up until we're on enough that we can. It's going to be harder than that, but we'll get there. So I'm going to tighten that nut onto this tool. Like so. So you see that's connected now. Put my drill on the end. Like that. Okay. Can you film this?
Are you actually using it to unscrew the tail as well?
No, just to take this nut off. Okay, and then when we do this, pulls the olive off there. So now we've got a clean tail that we can put our new, not an olive on, but we're actually swapping this, but it's just wanted to demo it how it works. So then if we undo that, see it's just pulled that olive off. Okay. And it also works on this one, so same principle, just pop that on. Like that, into the drill. Pulls the olive off, so it's in there. So that's what it looks like. Pulled off both those nuts and olives. You also get a 22mm attachment as well, so you can do it on 22mm. So like I say, we're replacing the tails on this one, so I just took that out. There's my new nut and cone on the pipe. So we're going to be fitting that. Just get my apprentice. Marcus?
Yeah, mate.
Just tape that up for me, please, mate.
Let's tape up your tail.
Yeah.
Again.
Right, so that's my new tail, nut and olive on the pipe, and then TRV's going on. Not this way, because Marcus says that's more efficient. So put that on there, some paste on that. Okay, so that's the TRV on. Now, if you remember, these Danfoss valves, we've got multi-directional, so depending on when the flow comes in, if it comes in from this side or this side, we alter the direction of the flow. But we'll do that when we've filled up and turned it on, and then obviously once we've set the flow, TRV head goes on. And if you've not seen these Danfoss ones before, you can get your own end cap. So Marcus has got his company logo on there and his phone number. If you speak to your rep at Danfoss, they'll do that for you for free. They'll just send you a bag of like 1,000 of them. So every time you fit a rad valve, you can put your own name on. Obviously that'll go on there like that when we're done. So that's the 15mm one. I'm not going to show you every TRV because we're doing about 14. What I will do is I'll show you one of the downstairs ones when we put the 10mm reducing set in, and I'm also going to give you a quick demo of this if you've never seen an olive being split before. Obviously I've just showed you this tool. I'll give you a quick demo of this on the next rad. But other than that, we'll get all these done, filled back up. I'll show you the commissioning process with that, and then it will just be the wiring part of the job. One more thing that I forgot to tell you about this, you don't have to use it in your drill. So you get this little T-bar which will go through that hole, and you can do it manually with your hand. So if you've got old pipe work that you don't know what the connection that's in the floor is, and you don't want to be putting your impact driver on that, yeah, you can do it by hand. So I guess you would hold the nut with your grips as you turn that, and it will do the same job. Got a few of these mats now, and I've just decided today to make a cutout for the pipe for the radiators. Obviously they're not all going to be the same distance, but it should get me there or thereabouts, and I use one of these anyway, so coupled with that makes it nice. Looks nice and professional when your customer comes in. Saying that, does that look professional? But if you've got one of these mats with your company logo on and stuff, it does look good. This is Clarence. You're a good boy. Look at that face. Look at that face. He's just been for a you-know-what, so I reckon give it a minute, he'll be in that bed, won't you? Good boy. Right, so on the downstairs ones, we've got 10mm. Now, I'm not swapping the tail on this one because the tail has got the drain point on it, so I'm going to leave that on. Now, I've not got a fancy olive puller for 10mm, so what we'll have to do is do it the old-fashioned way. If I just wiggle this nut down to expose the olive. What's all the noise, Clarence? What we're going to have to do is get junior hacksaw and we'll cut a slit in this olive and then we'll split it. You have to be very careful because you want to cut the olive, but you don't want to cut the pipe. So I think that's about right. That slot, the idea is you do it enough to get a screwdriver in like that, and then you just split it. And then this should just pull up. Gets the olive off. I've just caught it a tiny little bit. Should be alright though. So that's our 15mm nut on olive. Obviously we don't need that anymore. We're going to be using this reducing set. So nut goes onto the pipe as usual, and then this fits on like that. Let me get our valve. Let's pop some paste on this. Okay, now what happens is when we tighten this up, that reducing set will tighten together. You hear it click like that. And that's that.
Right, while Pete's doing the radiator valves downstairs, customers asked me to look at the toilet because it leaks, and you can see the water here. Runs down, drips all over the floor. So just in between here there's a donut washer. What I'll do is I'll strip it. But it's basically these bolts here hold this onto the bottom part of the toilet. And around here as well there's another one, another wing nut. So I'll get it all stripped out. We'll replace the washer and I'll show you. Right, so these toilets, there's loads of different ways that they're fixed back, but with this one, it's fixed back by a couple of screws that hold it back to the wall. And then, like I say, these wing nuts underneath, you can just see it through there where there's a plate. And it works is, there's a plate that holds it down, that bolts through. And the actual donut washer, there's loads of different sorts. There's foam ones. They're normally like a dome rubber one like that, which I'm going to put on this one I think, or if it's an ideal standard they do a big, what's called a studio washer, which is a big round washer that sits on top of the cistern. These are normally the worst bits to get off because they're underneath, the corrode and the rot. I found the best way to get them off is a multi-tool, just cut them straight off underneath, but this one don't look bad. So yeah, we'll get it, it's turned off at the ISO valve. We'll get that turned off and drained down. Perfect, so I've got it off. It'll come apart quite nicely to be fair, but as you can see this is completely rotten. This is where it's been leaking from. So I'm going to replace all this. I'm going to put a new siphon in it, the new plate and the new donut washer. Now luckily I keep all this in van stock. I'm going to replace it with this sort of siphon. So that what you do with this is if you need to replace this washer in the bottom, pull this pin out and this whole blue section slides out, leaving the water in the cistern so you don't even have to drain it. Yeah, I've got a new plate. Where have I just put that? I don't know. Oh, it's there, look. New plate. So that new plate will go on the bottom. That's for there. And like I say, I carry this studio donut washer as van stock. There's the sponge one. Sometimes they're a bit bigger. They fit well. And then that's the other sort. So you've got your three different sorts. Well, there we go. Let's get it done. So there's your bottom plate. That's literally just held on through the cistern by a big plastic nut. It bolts through the bottom. Here's the difference between your siphons. Look, this is a one-piece siphon. It's all in one. You can't take it apart. So if you ever need to swap this plastic washer in the bottom, you've literally got to take the whole thing out. As like I say, this one, if the plastic washer goes in the bottom of that, pull that pin out, the whole blue section just slides out, making life simple. So there you go. They're the two differences. One thing I always do is I always put a new fibre washer on. But what I noticed with this is where the ball valve connected, somebody actually made a fibre washer out of PTFE tape. So it's probably at some point had a leak, binned it. So we'll get rid of all that. and stick a new fibre washer on. There we go. I'll give this a bit of a clean up. And then I'll show you, there's actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a lip there. And that's where this washer sits inside. And then as you bolt it down, it squashes that down. Makes a nice tight water seal. Light washers on there. Well, this is the fun bit. There's the bolts on there. Now the fun bit is you've got to try and get that to line up with those two holes there and not flick the bolts off. Because what happens is as you come to push it down, if you don't get the hole bang on lined up, it flicks the bolt off, which is a nightmare, but let's give it a go. So, because it's real world plumbing, as I was dropping it on, it flicked the bolt off. Let's try again. So also what I didn't notice was this piece of the bore valve's broke. And when the water's coming out, it's actually going down here. But there's a risk of it spraying straight down the hole at the back as well. So while we're at this stage, I've got one on the van. Might as well stick a new one in. Right folks, so like I say, this is van stock as well. I carry these on the van. The reason I like these is because they're an extendable arm. You can literally slide them to all different lengths, and then you just push pins into the holes to hold it in place. And luckily, the one that came out is exactly the same, so I can just set the pins and the holes to the same. Also, bonus, because this is a two-part one, it allows you to get it out to gain access to the hole. Right, here's a little tip for you. Before you fully tighten up your top nut on your bore valve, get this one on, especially if you're in a really awkward position. Sometimes as you tighten the main top nut up, it might kick this over and it make it really hard to get these exactly square. Obviously with it being a plastic thread, it's dead easy to cross thread. So here's just a little top tip. Get that one first and then tighten that one up. Right folks, there we are. Water level's set. Siphons in. I'm just going to go and get a screw for here because I've noticed that screw's missing as well. Apart from that, that's it, we're all done. Hopefully, leak free. You can put the sticker on, look. There we go. It's a bit tight down there, but we're done. Clarence has just made sure I've done it right. Have I done it right, pal? Is that a no? I'm not very impressed.
One of the things I love about working in people's houses is seeing just how people live and how they decorate the houses. And these two armchairs here, you just know that they sit in these every night. The chap will have his chair, the wife will have her chair. They've got their own little glasses holder and they'll sit here watching TV or doing a crossword or whatever. Just reminds me of my gran and granddad. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's only been 6 months, but finally got someone who knows what they're doing to try and sort out my van issues. It's currently in bits. I heard him say fully fucked under his breath a minute ago. So this rod here, the customer complained that it's not been getting hot. So when we took the valve off to do the TRV, we took the other side and we passed a screwdriver through to check there was no baffles diverting the flow up and down, and there wasn't. So when we get this back on, we'll get the thermal imaging camera out and see. And we'll also use the thermal imaging camera to do the directional of the valves on all the rads, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so at the minute the TRV's shut off and we're not getting anything on the camera, so as we open it up we should see. It's like the lawnmower man. You can actually see the pipe in the wall in the plasterboard where it's feeding that rad. But it's not really showing up on the rad. We think that's because the chrome is a reflective surface. So you can see the copper pipe at the bottom and nothing really in the rad. You can see a little bit at the top, a little bit of heat there, but we'll try one of the white radiators. Should be able to see it better.
Yeah.
So this one, you can see obviously that heat comes in from the right. So we'll show you now on a cold one. If you're interested, you can watch that spread actually. It's pretty cool seeing how it works.
Already. On this one.
Yeah, that's the right hand side again. That's the float.
Yeah, a bit on this one.
Okay, so bathroom rad, stone cold, valve open. You can see the right hand pipes getting hot straight away, and then that'll start to flow through the radiator. And then all we do now, we know that the flow's on the right. That little arrow I told you about earlier. So we turn it, and that's that TLV setup. Lovely. Obviously this tool, so obviously the rad's just turned on. But if you came out and the customer said, oh, my radiator's not working properly, and you did this test now, see we've got a big cold spot at the bottom. That's just because we just turned it on. But if you had a cold spot, you're just showing your customer, you can say, look at this. You've got a big cold spot there, that's because there's sludge in the radiator. So these are really good for showing your customer what might be wrong with the radiators. Come back in a minute and look at that and show you that the cold spot should be gone. Right, classic case of why you're here, can you just? I've got a leak from the shower, which is coming through downstairs. So, let's move this stool. It's nice being able to sit down in the shower. I'm guessing it's coming from this corner. So what I'm going to do is spray some water just in that corner, and Marcus is going to be downstairs and see if it comes through. If not, after a couple of minutes, we'll move to that corner until some water comes through, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be that. What we'll do is see if this lifts up. Pops out, just so we can see. Let's try it anyway. So literally, I'm just going to pop in that corner. What we'll check is nothing comes through on the outside.
Ring the phone, fella.
Are you still dry?
Buzzing through.
Is it? Coming through?
Yeah, buzzing through.
There we go.
Oh,
Yeah, that's leaking, Pete.
what's that coming from?
It's running it, see if we can find this leak for you.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oops.
So you can see the pipes coming down in the wall. It's pretty cool.
It's turned off.
So about 20 minutes later, see the cold spot's gone on that rad. Okay, so now we're going to do the VR66. So we're going to be installing this. So we've got power that's going to go in there, cylinder start off that, and then we'll have the zone valve 2 port for the central heating, 2 port for the hot water, and then a bus cable going down to the boiler. So we've got to get 2 wires down to the boiler. And then this one here, I think, before I've read the instructions, is going to be the thermistor for the hot water. Then we've got the receiver, and then the actual programmer. So that's what we're doing today.